Hello everyone, and welcome back to Sir Coach Shows Off Pathfinder 2e. The video I have for you now is the Alchemist Subclass Showcase. If you're not familiar with these videos, I go through the different subclasses for the different classes in Pathfinder 2e. I don't talk about any of the feats, I only talk about things associated with just those subclasses and break it down to what they limit each other to and what they open up. Today, I'm going to be focusing on the Alchemist. And the Alchemist has 4 separate subclasses. You have the Bomber. They throw bombs. The Kurgan, or however you want to pronounce it. That is the medic, essentially. The Mutagenist does mutagen. And then there's also the Toxicologist. Your subclass is going to do different things depending on your level of your character. The subclass will deal with things on 1st, 5th, 7th, 11th, 13th, and 17th level. Everything beyond that is just base features for the Alchemist. Unlike a lot of the other classes, this also has the situation of no feats are locked to any particular subclass. Just because you choose your subclass doesn't mean you're locked into those types of things. Now, before we really get going on the subclasses, keep in mind for the Alchemist, they're infused reagents. And you get those based off your level plus your intelligence modifier. And that's how many you get per day. And you can use them in 2 ways. Advanced Alchemy, where for every 1 infused reagent you spend, you get 2 copies of an item. Or, during combat, you can spend 1 action to create an alchemical item using 1 infused reagent. It's either a 2 for 1 at the beginning of the day, or 1 for 1 in combat. Now, let's talk about the subclasses. At level 1, all of them give you 2 formulas. And this is in addition to all the other ones you know. So you'll actually end up starting the game with 8 formulas. Bomber, you get 2 first level bomb formulas. Kurgan, Antidote, Lesser Anti-Plague, or Minor Elixir Life. You get to choose 2 of those 3. Mutagenist, well, 2 first level mutagens. Toxicologist, Alchemical Poison. The Kurgan is the most limited for choosing your formula. But I have to remind you, just because I want Kurgan doesn't mean I'm limited to just those. I can also have all the rest of my formulas be bombs, or mutagens, or poisons. It's perfectly fine. What does make a major difference at this point is whatever 2 formulas you get from your subclass, when you use your advanced alchemy, instead of getting 2 copies of it, use for 1 reagent, you get 3 copies for 1 reagent. It gives you a 50% more if you are using your signature formula. And that's true for all of the different subclasses. That's where you really want to determine which one you want to go with. Here's the next part you have to keep in mind. Each of these also give you something that makes your particular field slightly stronger. The Bomber. You can make your splash damage from your bombs apply only to your primary target if you choose. Usually, splash damage is going to apply to your primary target and all the targets around them. Quite useful if you're going to have a lot of frontline people in your party and you don't want to be splashing them with damage. Kurgan. When you are using a medicine skill, either trained or untrained, as long as you are trained in medicine, you can use your craft instead. You might be wondering, well, I'm trained in medicine and trained in crafting, why would I want to use crafting instead? Alchemist, the primary modifier is going to be intelligence, and crafting is intelligence, whereas medicine is wisdom. So your crafting will usually be slightly better. The Mutagenist, they get the free action Mutagenic Flashback. And it's a free action. It's limited to once per day. And it's a situation of you reactivate a mutagen that you used to have in your body earlier that day that is no longer active. Basically just lets you get an extra free mutagen per day. And then the Toxicologist, that makes it so you can apply an injury poison to a weapon you're holding as 1 action. Usually it takes 2. It saves you a little bit of action economy. Before we get going on the next ones, let's talk about the other 5 features that your class gets at these particular levels. Level 5, you learn a special discovery depending on your field. Level 7, Perpetual Infusions. For this one, what ends up happening is you're able to get the ability to create 2 first level alchemical items using quick alchemy without spending reagents. You end up getting 2 options. You don't make 2 at one time. You get 2 options of making something without spending up reagents. So you will have an infinite supply of something. Perpetual Potency at level 11, well, you get improved items that you can use. So that will be one of those situations of oh, I used to be able to make level 1 items, I can now make like level 5 items. Then you have your Greater Field Discovery at level 13, which is going to give you another special feature. And then Perpetual Infusions at level 17, which again, even more powerful item. So at level 5, you are able to create 3 bombs instead of 2 of the same with Advanced Alchemy. Now, it could be, oh, I'll make a Dread Ampule and an Alchemist Fire and one other, and that will only end up using 1 infused. Kurgan, when you make Elixirs of Life, you make 3 at a time instead of 2. It only works for Elixirs of Life, not the Anti-Plague or the Antidote. And then Mutagenist and Toxicologist, 3 poisons instead of 2, and they could be any. Again, so they could be a combination of. So you can see that the Kurgan gets fairly limited in that regard. So now, at level 7, when you get the Perpetual... So now at 7, when you get Perpetual Potency, or the Bomber, can choose 2 of the following. You have Lessers of Acid Flask, Alchemist Fire, Bottle Lightning, Frost Vial, Tanglefoot Bag, Thunderstone. You get to choose any 2 of those. From then on, using Quick Alchemy, you can just make 1 of those for free. Now keep in mind, anything made with Quick Alchemy only lasts for 1 round. So you're not going to have an infinite supply of bombs sitting around. The Kurgan is, again, very limited. They only can get the Lesser Antidote and Lesser Anti-Plague. They can make those as much as they want. They can't make the Elixir of Life, though. The Mutagenist, Lesser Bestial, Cognitive, Juggernaut, Quicksilver, Serene, Silver Tongue. You get to choose 2 of those, and again, you can make them as much as you want. Toxicologist. Any 2 first-level alchemical poisons. They are the most free about choosing what they want to deal with. 11th level, you upgrade that. At this point, Bomber, Kurgan, and Mutagenist are all limited. Bomber, you now make the moderate version of the bombs you chose before. So you don't get to just choose new sets. It's just the moderate versions of the ones you had already chosen. So whatever you chose at level 7, you're stuck with at level 11. Kurgan, well, you have your Antidote and Anti-Plague. Just moderate version now. Mutagenist, same thing. It's now just the moderate version of the ones that you had already chosen. The Toxicologist gets to choose 2 common 5th level or lower alchemical poisons. They have a much wider choice of things for their Perpetual Infusion. And then we have the Greater Field Discovery. So the Bomber, you can increase your splash damage to creatures within 10 feet instead of 5. And then if you have taken the expanded splash feat, it actually makes it a 15-foot splash radius. That's going to do a lot of splash damage. The Kurgan, Elixir of Life from Quick Alchemy, gives maximum HP all the time. You never have to roll for how much hit points your Elixir of Life has to give off. If it is created with Quick Alchemy. Which remember, that's a 1-for-1 ratio. Instead of the 3-for-1 you can do. The Mutagenist. You're able to have 2 mutagens active at a time. Keep in mind there are some limitations on this. They have the Polymorph trait, which usually means you're only allowed to have 1 at a time. So if anything else with a polymorph trait is applied to you, you'll lose both your mutagen. And if you get another mutagen, you'll lose one of your 2 previous ones. Your choice. And then the Toxicologist. Theirs is probably the most complicated of these, because you can now apply 2 poisons to the same weapon. They have to be injury poisons. They can't go on ammo. You can't put 2 different poisons on your rock for your sling. They have to be, at most, up to 6 levels lower than your current level. So this is given at level 13. They have to be 7th level or lower poison. You cannot use Perpetual Infusion. So even though you can make 5th level alchemical poisons for free without using up anything, you cannot apply them at the same time using this. You have to apply each poison 1 action at a time. You can apply poisons 1 action instead of 2. It'll take you essentially 2 actions to put 2 poisons on. And then you can attack with it. If the poisons have different DCs, then you use the lower of the 2. That is very important to keep in mind. Also, some poisons are virulent in Pathfinder 2e. That means they're fairly dangerous to deal with. If both of the poisons you're applying are virulent, then your double poison is virulent. If one of them is not, then the double is not. And then poisons have a number of stages. And for this one, it will be equal to the lowest number of stages between the 2 poisons. So if one of them has 10 stages, one of them has 3, well, your double poisons only have 3 stages. So just keep that in mind when you're stacking things together. And then 17th level is similar to 11th, but now you get the greater version of the bombs that you're choosing before, the Antidote, Anti-Plague, Mutagens, and once again, the Toxicologist can now choose 2 common 11th level or lower alchemical poisons. And that is all that the Alchemist subclass provides. There's no limited feats, as I have said before, And once you have chosen it, it does guide your character. If you take the toxicologist, well, chances are you're going to be dealing with a slashing weapon or something like that to actually make the best use out of it. The mutagenist, well, you're probably going to be using some mutagens, but you might still use bombs. The Kurgan, yeah, you might be a little bit of a healer, but you might still make poisons as well and apply those to things. And the bomber, well, you'll probably still make a few health potions to heal your teammates, but you're going to be making a lot of bombs. So hopefully this video has helped some of you narrow down exactly what you want to do with your alchemist. If you're looking for some other classes, those will be coming out in the following weeks. And until later, this is Sir Coach signing off.